This is the Moso bamboo, and it's towards the end of April, and we had a late freeze. So the Moso woke up from the warm soil, started growing. It only grows once a year for about a month, and all the shoots came up. They were huge, and unfortunately this one made it. It's about 2 weeks old. It survived the cold. And that one, see the nice little velvety sheen they have on the little husk, and the husk starts falling off as it grows. Anyway, this is what happened. This big old shoot here, the freeze got a hold of it. So I lost that one, I lost this one, and all these others. Look at the size of this one though. At least that one survived. But this one here is as big around as somebody's leg, and it died. And that's just how it happens, you know. The weather is so unpredictable, and you can't look at plants and know what is going to happen, because they don't even know. This poor bamboo woke up and thought it was going to make it, but it didn't. Here's some beautiful deer heading out across the vineyard. Where'd they go? They're still over there. Hey deer. There's the deer. Probably can't see them. Don't want them to run too fast because the neighbor will shoot them. He doesn't own the land next door, but he paid him $100 or something to be able to go over there and shoot for 5 years. And my deer are tame, a lot of them are bottle fed, but it doesn't matter to them. They just want to be able to shoot them. Come on, girls. It's okay. They're going straight to him. That's too bad. Oh no. It's okay, girls, I'm not going to go that way. Anyway, the vineyard, it's got fully leafed. And now I'm pretty sure we won't get another freeze, because it's April 23rd is our deadline. We've never ever had a freeze beyond April 23rd. So for the last 100 and something years they've been keeping track. So I'm pretty sure we'll be okay with the vineyard. It was sure a while to get that pruned. The only reason that I would prune them is to keep them in this fashion on these 2 wires. And to keep the horses from tearing them up, I have to put a barbed wire strand down here. Anyway, I was told to use this number 9 wire that's smooth, but I had to highly recommend you just go ahead and get you some cheap barbed wire, and just use barbed wire for your muscadines, because it helps the tendrils hold on better. And if you ever do get horses, they won't rub on barbed wire like they will smooth wire. Anyhow, let's see what else we got. Here's my garden. Let's go out to the garden and see. I have a large garden, and I keep pie tins right above the plants I don't want eaten, so animals stay away from the pie tins. I rotate my pastures a lot. You can see the horses are wanting in this one again. They were just taken out of this one. But I don't use electric fence to rotate my pastures. I just use a strand of barbed wire, which is really easy. I had a neighbor a few miles away. He wanted me to watch his hogs, and he kept them on one strand of electric fence, and that was a bad idea. Because electric fence is only temporary. Every time a twig touches it, and it grounds out and doesn't work, and his hogs would get out. He only had 83 acres, but it was a lot of work walking that fence every day to make sure that she's scratching. Are you scratching, little girl? Anyhow, a lot of work walking that fence to make sure it wasn't grounded out. Barbed wire works perfect, you know, just one strand. You can move it really easy. Just pound a fence post in. just one. Of course, my perimeter fences are much better. I don't leave just one strand for them. Perimeter fences, I keep lots of bushes and thorny plants and several strands of wire to keep them in from there. But as far as keeping them in paddocks so they don't eat it all up, I do that. I put one strand of wire. They love being moved to new pastures a lot more than they do having all the land at once, because horses like to stay in the same area to go to the bathroom and the same area to eat. And they eat the grass down and the clover down too low. So you move them around and that's great. Plus, look how they destroy your trees. See how she's rubbing on that tree just to scratch on it for fun. And I want to keep my fruit trees, so I move them so they don't get too much at one time. Okay, let's just get over here. Just 2 days ago, we had a freeze, and now it's already budding out. My pecans already budding out. The freeze didn't hurt my pear trees and their blooms. They seem to be all right. But 2 days ago, it was below freezing, and already we've had improvement. Everything is awake. The hazelnuts are doing very well. They always do. The hazelnuts are very reliable at zone 7. There's 2 species here, well, 2 varieties. This one has huge nuts. I don't know what variety it is either. And this one has small nuts. And you see they sucker from the bottom. You can make all you want just by digging up suckers. And I'm trying to do that here and there, but can't have too many because I still need pasture and I need sunshine. My favorite plant in my pasture, the most important plant you can possibly have anywhere, is clover. Clover, it makes your soil rich. It adds its own nitrogen. It takes it from the atmosphere, which is nearly 78%, and it fixes it so plants can use it. It uses a bacteria called rhizobia. Anyway, clover is the most beneficial plant you can have. I've never had any trouble with animals not gaining lots of weight and being very healthy and happy with it. The only thing I would prefer is alfalfa, but they love that so much they eat it to the ground and I can't seem to keep it around the pasture. So I have to buy alfalfa all the time for treats. This is huzu bamboo, also known as pigskin bamboo. It's a great northern bamboo because it doesn't shoot early. It waits until plenty of frost is completely gone. It isn't even about to shoot yet. It'll probably be another month till it finally shoots. So it's very protected. It's a smart bamboo. Wild hogs tried to eat it pretty bad, but that was not good enough for it. It made it. Of course, my dogs chased him off. This is an experiment I'm doing. Can you transplant okra? Well, many say it's not easy to transplant. Well, over the years, I've always moved them. I don't throw away anything. When I thin, I don't just kill them, I replant them. And I've never had any trouble replanting okra and letting it take. This year, since it froze just 2 days ago, and I've had a very long, cold winter. As I said before, all my fig trees froze to the ground this year and are coming up from below the surface. And that's bad for figs like Celeste or Desert King that only bear on last year's wood. And those kinds of figs are really bad for this climate. But I had to transplant these okra because I started them early. I knew it was going to be a cold year. So this is going to be an experiment where I do the whole thing this way. So now they've gotten a month's head start. The seedlings are already doing pretty good. And I chose a cloudy day to put them in the ground. This is my root out garden, and you see there's a lot of weeds, which these weeds right here from last fall, I'm going to take them and cover them around everything as it starts to get drier in the season. This whole trellis over here is all tomatoes. They're so easy to grow. Tomatoes are awesome. These are red sun shallots. Just look at the beautiful things. They've only been in the ground a couple weeks, and already they're multiplying up, and they take freezing weather really well. Now these are Egyptian walking onions, top-setting onions. They are really only good for chives, but they're the tastiest chives. They're delicate, they're huge, and they just reproduce like crazy. The root doesn't really taste good, and it's too small to deal with. Why bother eating the root when it kills the plant anyway? Just cut the chives off. But you see how they're tinged on the top? The freeze turned them yellow. So they're all right, but they're not as hardy as the shallots. And leeks are super hardy. Anyway, here's another thing. This is Calypso cilantro. There's only 3 plants in here. I transplanted them. A friend of mine gave them to me. Anyway, Calypso is supposed to be a type that doesn't bolt, doesn't go to seed when it gets hot. Well, I can say one thing, it sure is winter hardy, because it's tolerated some really cold temperatures in the 20s and below 20s, way below freezing point. And look at it, it's lush and beautiful, and like I said, it only froze 2 nights ago and didn't even affect it. But it's a very tasty, delicious. I really recommend Calypso now. Oh, and I found out something new. In Zone 7, you can overwinter taro in the ground. I actually overwintered it in the ground. I was digging, and I thought it was one of my shallots coming up, and I realized it was taro. And as I dug more, I got more and more of the bulbs. Taro overwinters in Zone 7. It can take freezing weather underground. So you don't have to worry about taking it all in the house and storing it where it'll get too dry and everything in a basket. Just go ahead. Keep it in the ground. Just make sure it's, where it's been growing. I didn't even mulch it. I just left it under the ground because I didn't know that I'd left it. Of course, I overwinter my potatoes in the ground too. Anyhow, main thing I'm showing you is these okras. I'm going to show you that you can transplant okra just fine. I'll follow up with another video as this grows, and you'll see how productive it can be. And this variety is Stewart's Z Best. And believe me, Mr. and Mrs. Stewart weren't lying when they said it's Z Best. This okra is long and tender, and you can eat it much longer than all those other varieties. I think Clemson Spineless is the toughest tasting, most fibrous okra. But Stewart's Z Best is a gourmet okra, and it's productive, and it branches more than any of the other okras, bar none. Uh-oh, I'm stepping on a potato. My potato fields, they froze down, but they're going to come right back. And this is Chinese cabbage. It's done pretty well for cold weather. You don't want to plant Chinese cabbage early. You want to plant it after the really bad 20 degrees are over with, because if it gets exposed to any temperatures below 20, this is what it'll do. If you plant it too early in the spring, it will send up flowers as soon as it warms up. See how those flowers are coming up? That's what happens when you plant them too soon. They're biennials. That means they bloom after the 2nd year. So if they get exposed to a really cold weather, they figure, I've been through winter. It's time for me to bloom. And let's see what else. There's sure a difference between elephant garlic and regular old garlic. This is the rocambole garlic that actually has little bulblets like top-setting onions that it makes new. And you see, it's not so winter hardy. It's got a little yellow tinges on it, and it's kind of thin and sparse. It's very tasty, but that type of garlic isn't as strong or delicious, in my opinion, as this great big huge elephant garlic, which in my opinion is the hardiest. Elephant garlic is actually a Russian type of garlic from Russia, and it can tolerate some serious cold temperatures. I don't usually keep it in the garden. I usually just plant it in the pastures, and you can see it, more of it out in my pastures. It's out there. Just put it in the pastures because horses don't eat it, and it's so winter hardy. When nothing is growing in the winter, this elephant garlic takes off and grows. Just about the time, oh, I got a bluebird in the nest. Yay! There's a bluebird in my little nest finally. How great! Oh, there he went. Oh, you're not going to get to see that. Anyway, that's awesome. He's got babies or something, or they've got babies because he's flown in and out twice. That's so cool. A friend gave me that too. He made it himself. Birdhouses are great. Anyhow, this horseradish is very winter hardy. Everybody should grow, if they're a permaculturalist and they don't till, see, you really can't grow a lot of things when you're a tillage, because the only benefit to tilling mainly is that you get to start the whole garden over every single year. But you grind up all your toads, your beneficial lizards, your beneficial snakes. Everything is ground up. And that's not good. And all your wonderful perennial and biennial plants are ground up too. See, because I don't till, I can keep all this horseradish out here, and it'll be here for years, and keep my potatoes over winter. And you can put things in your garden all year long. I used to take my tractor out here, and I used to plow it up, till it up, cultivate it. Let's watch this female coming back in with the worm in her mouth. Let's see what she does. Sorry about the shakiness, I'm just using a phone. She's on the pecan tree sitting with a worm in her mouth. I'm gonna get back. I'd love to get closer to show you, but... Are you up there? There she is. Watch her come to the feeder. I mean, the birdhouse. We ain't got time for this. Come on, baby girl. You're about to go. There you go. Here she comes. She's feeding babies. This is so awesome. I tried to keep purple martins, and I have several martin houses that cost about $100, but the bluebirds always took over, even though there were 12 to 20 little nest holes for the martin colony. The bluebirds always take it and say, hey, I want one of those nest holes and you guys can't have any family here. So they ran off the purple martins. I guess other people can raise purple martins, I can't. At least I got bluebirds. When I was a child, I've grown up in a lot of places, Canada and the USA, and I've been in places where they raise purple martins a lot, like Oklahoma and Florida. And I've always been crazy about them, but I've never been able to keep them. I've tried everything. They come to my nest and change their minds. I've tried everything. I guess I just live in a bad area for them right now in the Ozarks. But I sure live in a good area for bluebirds. One of my favorite onions is shallots, because you can just keep them up, you know. They just keep dividing and I don't have to worry about growing the seeds. Anyway, I'm really happy to have that bluebird, because that bluebird is going to eat lots of my bad bugs. I don't do any kinds of chemicals in my garden whatsoever, of course, and I don't kill anything in my garden, no matter what, because that's just not me. Anyway, this right here are red Creole onions. I got a whole bunch, and they were hard work growing them all winter long in the window. And I had to also buy the seeds twice, and that ain't good, because the first time they all damped off, and the second time I did fine, but it's good. This right here, this weed's called dead nettle. Oops, where are you, dead nettle? Dead nettle, and it's the same thing as henbed, only it's got like a fuzz on its leaves that looks like a fuzz, and it's very tasty. It kind of tastes like a mushroom, and it's in the mint family, and honeybees love it. A lot of people where I live spray their fields to kill it, and their cows have to eat that poisonous herbicide. And they do. You do it all the time here. And they don't realize this is a spring plant, and all it does is grow in the spring and die. It's an annual. It doesn't hurt anything. You can eat it, and so can animals. And you'll notice it's not in my pastures, because my horses have eaten it all out. And the deer eat it. Anyhow, they spray it when they see it. It's kind of stupid, but I'm sure there's probably a list or a booklet that tells you it's not good for cows or causes bloating. They just want to kill everything and sell their poison. It's really the truth. But these annual weeds may look bad to some people right now, but they're going to make soil for me, and I can easily get rid of them later on. And as long as you've got nitrogen, anything will grow around weeds. A little secret, you can always use pea if you don't have livestock. Pea is higher than any other fertilizer you can buy. You do want to dilute it a lot, like at least half water and half pea. Well, yeah, it's nasty, but tell you what, it's free and it works. And if everyone used their pea to grow their own things, I tell you right now, they would sure have a garden. And we wouldn't have all this excess nitrates getting in the water supply. and we'd be growing a lot more food. But the chemical companies wouldn't be making all that money. They wouldn't own the USDA. Agrochemical does own the USDA. The US people don't own it anymore. The president always puts a new USDA man in charge of it, not a regular person. Anyhow, I don't want to waste any more of your time. Just, what was the main reason for this? Oh yeah, hey, the main reason I made this video is because people want to know if my tea plants can tolerate the cold. Well, I don't know what variety they are. I'm sure they're not Assamica. I'm sure they're just Camellia sinensis. But the reason I got these tea plants is somebody got mad at another person and sprayed their greenhouse with herbicide. And so the lady gave these sprayed plants to me. And they're tea plants from her own bush that here in Zone 7 produced seeds, and they come up from underneath their bushes. She put them in pots. This is one coming back really nice. They've been through 2 winters now, and it got literally 5 degrees this year for two nights. So this is a tea plant coming back over winter. This is not freeze kill. This right here, this is from where it was young and herbicided. We also had a very bad drought, as we usually do nowadays. Every summer it stops raining. So it didn't grow very much. Sometimes my goat gets in here with me, and she eats things, so I put this little fence just temporarily around this one. But you see how beautiful this one's already come up? And these leaves went through some seriously cold frost already, and they came back tender and young and still made it through the cold. I'm really happy that they did this. So most of your plants, when they start coming out too early, they get burned by the cold. But this one went dormant, lost all its leaves, and sure enough, come back. And see here, this one's coming back really nice, and right down there near the shoots they're coming back really nice, and I'm getting some more baby coming out. Anyway, what happened here is some voles, number one food of an owl, a rodent that eats roots and plants, and it's active all year, especially in the winter, and doesn't hibernate. A vole made tunnels underneath here and caused this poor plant not to get enough water. So I stomped it down and re-watered it. So now it's going to do very well. It'll keep up with the one over there and that one over there. But that's from lack of water. Prickly pears, I've got them all over the place. Prickly pears are super, super, super good plants. They take cold weather, they take drought, they take heat, they take anything. Just give them sunshine. And they produce a very good edible fruit. And they're good for honeybees. They got great nectar and pollen in them. So I recommend them too. And you go, oh man, I don't want to step on my little baby tomatoes, but got tomatoes all over here. These are green beans. Of all the beans, green beans can take some really cold weather. I hear runner beans can too, but I don't know this. They don't do well where I live. But green beans can tolerate colder weather than regular beans. Dry beans that we normally eat and make burritos with and stuff. They need hot soil. If they don't get warm soil, their rhizobia aren't active and they don't get fed. But green beans, they seem to tolerate very cold weather pretty well. Not very cold weather. Like I said, it froze 2 days ago. I had to cover them with sheets. See, I have these old mildewed sheets that I've had out here for a few years. And I just cover things up with the sheets when it's going to get cold. And the strawberries can take cold really, really well. So you see these strawberries, man, they're just loaded with all kinds of flowers. And this variety is called Chandler, and I highly love Chandler. Any type of strawberry that I've ever grown that was ever bearing never did well for me, but when I finally got the June bearers, they do well. They are strong. They spend some of their time growing plants and then some of their time suddenly fruiting. And the everbearers always just barely fruit and barely grow. But June bearers, they know what they're doing. You see they're spilling out of the box. And my girlfriend's brother made this, and man, he really did some work on that. He just said, Mark, you can have it. Just gave it to me. What an awesome guy. Anyhow, I have got to get out of here. These big, beautiful pear trees are called Warren pears. They're huge, and they make beautiful pears. I would never plant a Bradford or a Cleveland pear because they don't make any fruit. They just make these horrible, corky pears that are impossible to eat. They make white blooms early, but there's nothing for wildlife in them, and they seem to just be spreading around. Real pears are what you want because they're long lasting. There's nothing more beautiful than somebody having food in their front yard. Pears hanging for everyone to see. A Bradford pear or a Cleveland pear, they just, not to be confused with Bartlett, they just bear those white flowers and then there's nothing to look at after that. Just a short week or two of blooming in early spring and then that's it. But these, man, they're gonna really look pretty. And look at all the foliage. Look at how beautiful it is. They're huge trees, and these are only 3 or 4 years old. Other kinds of pear trees that fruit, these are the Contes and sugar pears and Kiefers. They just don't have the beautiful leaves that other pears have. These are English walnuts. If you want to know how to keep horses away, go ahead and let the briars grow. See, these are called greenbriers. Greenbriers, and they're just a greenbrier. Let them go ahead and grow on the base of your trees, and the horses won't scratch on them anymore. Also, deer won't horn them if there's any of those. If you're having trouble deer horning in the autumn, very simple. You just take just one strand of wire and just twist it around here loosely. They won't horn the tree anymore. I know this. I've done it a lot. This is an Arkansas black apple. Don't recommend it. The apple's not tasty. It's not very productive, and I think it's an old-fashioned mealy red apple. Go something that tastes better. Like Yellow Delicious is really good and easy to grow. What are y'all doing? See, look at them going good. The white horse, she kind of likes weeds a lot more than the brown horse does. What you got there, hon? What you got? You want your butt scratched? Don't step on my foot. Anyway, there's a failed attempt at a marten house. As you can see, I've got several marten houses and they just don't do any good here. I've got some people that did really well with their martens and then they died and their kids took over. They didn't even take care of them and now they don't have martens. Anyway, y'all followed me out here, didn't you? You follow me everywhere I go. Anyway, we're having a pretty dry spring, as you can see. My creek is really down. Really, really down. It's kind of sad. We don't have as much water as we used to. Okay, girls, I'll see you later. Baby horses. These are percherons. They're not really babies. They weigh about 2,000 a piece. They're like 17 hands tall. This is the trifoliate orange, and it had some beautiful blooms. It was going to make a really nice citrus fruit that you can make a kind of a limeade type drink. But the flowers just froze a couple days ago, and now it's bringing back some new leaves. But why I love it so much is because the thorns, they're the best barbed wire you can get to keep your horses in their pens. They're all along my fence row here, one of my fence rows. And they keep my horses from getting out and running off into the forest, into the national forest, where they'll get probably shot for being free range. So I keep them out here, lots on my hedgerow. I love them. I also keep wild roses all over the fence rows because the deer like them very much. And you can eat them, and my goats like to eat them. So my hedgerow is almost entirely privets, because they're ever-bearing. They grow all winter long, some foliage for everyone to eat. And the horses like to eat privet too, goats like to eat it, deer like to eat it. And the seeds, the turkeys eat the seeds. And the roses are great. They're not evergreen like the privet, but they sure have the thorns to keep the animals in. One of my favorite blackberries is a Himalayan blackberry. You can see them there. A man named Luther Burbank brought it here from the Himalayan mountains of Nepal, and it is so wonderful. It has a tasty berry, and it just takes all the diseases. It never gets blossom rosette or whatever it is. It doesn't get anything wrong with it. This is a desirable pecan. They're now saying that it's old. It's like from the 1800s. The scion, the wood that we graft from, the graft is an old variety, and now it's starting to become from an old tree, so therefore, since the tree itself that it's taken from is old, I think genetically it knows it's old. Because see, grafting is very unnatural. So plants that are desirable pecan are starting to get diseases and stuff. So that's that. At least that's my theory on it. I was going to show you something. See, here's my perimeter fence. 5 strands of barbed wire, and then before that, lots and lots of wild roses hedged up. And that way the animals can nest in there, and the quail and turkeys and stuff can make nests along the fence rows. You should never clean your fence rows of all vegetation, because then you're not doing any good. You're one of the people that's helping to exterminate all the quail and the turkeys, because they can't survive on a pasture that gets stomped on by cattle and horses and goats and bush hogs. They need to have a place to nest, and there's an undisturbed spot on everyone's fence row. Anyhow, I'm showing you this. This is an old ladder stand, and up on top of this ladder stand is a little bee nuke, and I catch swarms in it usually twice a year. The swarms go into that bee nuke. Of course, it's from my hives about a quarter mile away, but they always come to this one spot in this bee nuke. It's about 15 feet high, and it's under a sweet gum tree, and it's just this location they like. I have another bee nuke over there under that big pecan tree, and it never catches any bees. They don't go there, because they just, if you find a place where you start catching swarms, a bait area like this, you need to keep that area, because it really works. This over here used to be a beautiful forest, and a hunter got a hold of it, and now he's renting it. So he totally cut down all the brush, and for a long strip there's nothing there. There's a corn feeder, and there's a couple of tents that he sits in, and he just shoots anything that walks across that field. And I was trying to hope to get the turkeys back, because the turkeys and bobwhites are almost extinct here in the Ozarks, and especially the bobwhites. No one's seen any of them anymore, except the ones you hatch in aviary, and they don't make it in the wild. Anyway, he shoots everything over there. Too bad. It was once a big forest, but they sold it for timber 3 years ago. Would have been really good if they left this to grow, but they're not going to. Would have been good for my bees too. He calls that a food plot, but all it is some old grass. It's not any good. This is a food plot. Muscadine grapes, blackberries, pecans, my garden, and clover, and all kinds of things in my pasture. Plenty of stuff, many varieties. This right here is the Chickasaw variety of blackberries, and they really aren't the best blackberry. I don't recommend Chickasaws. I've had them for maybe 15 years. Now this is a wonderful bee plant. This is called autumn olive, and it just blooms for 2 weeks or so, and oh, it smells so good. And it's so good for the bees and the butterflies, and once it makes fruit, man, everything loves it, including everyone, people too. It's like a sweet tart candy, and in Europe and Asia they really eat them. But there's many varieties of this kind of plant. Autumn olive, also known as Russian olive. Well, not the same, but they're so close, there's not much difference between any of them. Goomy berry, whatever. I'm going to show you why Chickasaw is not a good variety. There's many types, but I don't like Chickasaw. One is it gets blossom rosette. I can't see any right now. Where is it? Oh man, I was hoping I could show you the blossom rosette. Yeah, this is blossom rosette. See how that little thing is all nebby-like? Just little bits. Not growing well and turned really red. That's blossom rosette. And that will not do very well. But anyway, there's no way to get rid of it. Don't believe the chemical people who tell you that you can spray it or get rid of all the vines and restart, because it's impossible. Because see, this variety here, long, about 400, maybe 500 feet of these, even if I ripped them all out and bush hogged them and started a new planting Right over here you'll see that I have all kinds of wild blackberries. They come up everywhere. Different varieties of blackberries. What we call bird blackberries, little tiny ones. And we've got just millions of different varieties. Well, not millions, I'm exaggerating. But you can't get the disease blossom rosette away because it's going to be carried by butterflies and honeybees from flower to flower and bumblebees and hoverflies, and it's going to be carried by the soil organisms and the floods. As long as there's other, you'd have to get rid of every blackberry there is in the whole 5-mile area or something. It would be impossible. And then what is a chemical going to do anyway? It's going to sit there and kill everything for a while and ruin everything, and it's going to go somewhere else, dissipate, and then you're going to have to start over again because this is indigenous. All diseases are. So what you do if you have something that's getting pest-ridden or getting a disease is you plant something else. No, you don't have to give up blackberries because they get this. You just find another variety of blackberry. And that is what I've done. Even though I wasted my time and money because the University of Arkansas told me to plant Chickasaws, they were wrong. Of course, they have these huge spray regimens. They want you to buy all these chemicals all the time. You're going to have cancer if you listen to them. There's no doubt. And there's not going to be anything around living. So what I did was I found a better variety that my girlfriend's grandfather gave us. And I don't know what it is, but it's so much more vigorous, and it never gets this sickness. And it's got big, big blackberries, bigger than these Chickasaws. But it obviously isn't recommended by the University of Arkansas because it doesn't need chemicals, and they're all part of the USDA and all that. So I got to sell those chemicals. Here's what I do with the hedges. I just snap them off low so the deer can reach them. These are privets. See? Privet hedges. They're all over my fence line. It's probably getting too dark to see because we've had an overcast day. Lots of airplane pollution in the sky, making chemical cloud cover from the exhaust. Airplanes burn like kerosene and who knows what else is in their fuel. But if they're not doing it on purpose, it's certainly something that needs to be fixed. I need to get them some smog devices or something because it's certainly ruining our climate. Should have been sunny today. Anyhow, okay. I was going to show you the other blackberries. Get past all these muscadines. I'm going to try to show you these blackberries. These muscadines died back about 10 years ago, so they're not as beautiful and tamed as they used to be. I had to get them all back from suckers growing up from the ground. One day we were in the 60s, and then that night we were 12 below zero. 12 below zero Fahrenheit. And that is amazingly bad. I don't know what that is in Celsius, but that is some seriously cold weather. 60 degrees Fahrenheit, and then suddenly the sap was up. Man, I'm gonna just stop this so I can get to the blackberries. Okay, these are the super blackberries. Don't know the name of them, but you see how they get way up in the pecan trees. And remember, this is very early spring. They're just waking back up. Anyway, these have some seriously thick stems, and they just, I don't know what they are, but look at them. And they don't get the blossom rosette. They're healthy and vigorous. They can take anything. I so wish I would have just bought a bunch of these, but they weren't recommended. And there are some old variety, like I said, my girlfriend's grandfather had. Man, I really would like to tell you what these are. We call them Papa James variety. That was his name. But I've never seen a blackberry that could crawl all the way up in a tree like that. And this is just its second year. They're really vigorous. I'll find out one day with the air, hopefully. If you have horses, you need bamboo. This is the kind you need. This is called yellow groove bamboo. And the horses spend most of their time in it. In the summer, winter. It's better than their barn. It's so much better. The flies don't go in it because it's covered in birds. The birds love to live in its canopy, and they just eat all the flies. They can't survive. The thing is, though, the bamboo can't get out very well, because you'll notice every single bamboo shoot that came up this spring, it only shoots once, has been nipped off. Its tops have been nipped off systematically by the horses. I needed to keep them out of here long enough for the bamboo to get over their heads, but I didn't do it again. Anyway, see how nice and thick this is? We had a major storm come through. This seems to be where all the tornadic activity shoots through, this one area where this bamboo is. An Australian said that one of the safest places to be in a tornado is in a bamboo grove. Anyhow, this bamboo grove, it's very winter hardy. It didn't even freeze down when we got 12 degrees below zero. It's still doing great. Look at the amount of oxygen that this thing is producing. And it doesn't lose its leaves in the wintertime. It's still producing. It smells so good in here. But you see, the horses love it. It's a type of grass and it's sweet. And they come in here and they love this. It's probably so dark you can't even see anything, so I probably should just get the heck out of here. But this is the dark area. This is rich soil that it's made because it's dropping its leaves all the time and mulching itself. The soil is literally blackened, and it was once sand. This bamboo is seriously good stuff. And the horses spend so much time here. Why wouldn't they, though? Look at this. It's just like a beautiful barn. It's insulated because bamboo is hollow in the middle, so it's like its own climate, microclimate. And like I said, it's fly proof in here, comfortable. They really have made this area a barn. So you have to actually start your bamboo away from the horses for several years, probably 7 years before you can finally put them in it. But if you know of a place with bamboo, it'd be the place to keep some horses. I sort of think that giraffes, they used to live in Asia too, but they've been hunted to extinction. Giraffes probably adapted to live in bamboo forests. There's a lot of animals that have been moved around the earth, and they actually started somewhere else. Like rhinos, you know, tapirs are a form of rhino, and they're from South America, so rhinos probably started here. We know that camels started in America. The llama is an ancestor of the camels. This was from that really bad tornadic thing that came through. This is my swampy area. Full of turtles. You see the turtles down there? Lots of turtles. Well, I can't see them. They're underwater. Little turtles. They're just waking up from hibernation, so they've had it rough. Turtles are awesome. They're mostly plant eaters, but they'll scavenge, so they're really good to keep the water clean and stuff. They don't eat live fish or anything. Snapping turtles make a little worm, and they angle for very small fish, so they're great for catching fish, but most other turtles don't eat. They eat plants. One of the best plants for turtles is salvinia. Salvinia grows on the surface of the water, cleans the water really well. It dies over the winter in zone 7. It can't take freezing, but it sure is a good turtle food and a duck food. It's really good for ducks. And the funny thing is they're killing the salvinia with poison sprays. In some of the areas that used to be full of ducks before Duck Dynasty came out, that movie, that series has encouraged everyone to want to kill ducks. So our ducks are almost gone now. The reason I wanted to take you through here is I wanted to tell you about a lot of these really good plants for your bees. One of the best is called gill over the ground. Some people call it ground ivy, but it's not ivy. It's in the mint family, really closely related to catnip, and it just blooms continuously. And it blooms for a month or two, but the bees really like it, and I think it keeps the bees healthy. And it grows right around here, but it's back there mostly. There's not much out here. Sorry, I passed it up. Okay, I've probably made this way too long, but this is buckeye. And buckeye doesn't taste good to animals, so they don't eat it. But the hummingbirds and the bees and bumblebees really like it. Some people say it's poisonous to bees, and it's not. My bees make a lot of nectar off of this. What I like about it is, as you saw, it just got done freezing just 2 nights ago, and the buckeye is still blooming, and the hummingbirds rely on it. And my honeybees need early spring nectar. There's not much out there this time of year. Well, you can certainly see there's plenty of buckeye. Got it all in here. I've never killed it. I was told to kill it. They said it'd kill my livestock, but it doesn't. See even though it's a very cold day, it's like 40 degrees. No, it's 50. The bumblebees are all over it. All over it. See the many different colors it comes in? Wait till you see all these beautiful colors. Those are the bright reds down there. Here's one with a kind of an orange. Well, this one's red, as you can well see, and this one's orange. You can just hear the bees. There's bees. There's honeybees. Can you see the honeybees? I don't know if you can see the honeybees. Honeybees are all over it. All over it. But yeah, honeybees love buckeye. But somebody said they're going to kill their buckeye in California because it's in the mountains, and they're going to start chopping it down because they don't want their one beehive to die. And what they don't realize is it doesn't kill bees. It's good for bees. Don't kill it. Don't believe what you hear. A lot of stuff is lies. Like black vultures, they don't eat calves, and eagles don't take goats. I mean, I've got bald eagles. They never hurt even poultry. They're fish eagles. Eagles eat fish, and vultures are scavengers. But buckeye is good for bees. See? Nobody's dying because they're on buckeye. I've heard this about rhododendrons too. Azaleas are rhododendrons, and I know plenty of beekeepers who keep lots of bees in Florida around the huge amounts of azaleas. Okay, that's all I can do today. It's getting too dark to film. I hope you have a very nice day and night, whatever. Mean it. Bye. Oh, sorry. I wanted to tell you,